Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a truly beautiful day to gather around and talk about the latest drama unfolding in Port Charles. We have so much to unpack, and I am just overflowing with thoughts about where our favorite characters are heading. I have to start by pouring my heart out about what is happening to our dear Jocelyn. Watching her go through this terrifying hostage situation at Windermere has been nothing short of agonizing. We all know Jocelyn as this vibrant, fiery young woman who inherited every ounce of her mother Carly's fierce spirit. She is a fighter, through and through, and seeing her physically attack Cassius in a desperate bid for freedom was a moment that had me completely on the edge of my seat. But oh my goodness, the physical danger she has been in is only the very tip of the iceberg. What is truly breaking my heart into a million pieces is the profound psychological toll this nightmare is taking on her. It is not just about surviving a physical threat anymore. It is about the absolute shattering of her sense of safety and her mind. The trauma that Jocelyn is enduring right now is so deep and so dark that it is beginning to manifest in ways that are genuinely hard to watch. I find myself holding my breath during her scenes because you can just see the light in her eyes starting to dim, replaced by a haunting, hollow stare of pure terror. The sheer psychological manipulation she has been subjected to while being held captive is breaking down her defenses in a way no physical weapon ever could. It is as if the very core of who she is, her confidence, her bravery, her stubborn will to live, is being systematically dismantled piece by piece. Seeing a young woman so full of life be reduced to a state of such profound mental anguish is a tragedy that I can hardly bear to witness. As I sit and process everything unfolding on our screens, I cannot help but draw a chilling connection to one of the most heartbreaking chapters in Port Charles history. The way Jocelyn's mind is unraveling is bringing back such vivid, painful memories of what happened to our beloved Anna Devane years ago. Do you remember when Anna was pushed to the absolute brink of insanity? When the trauma and the mind games became so severe that she completely lost her grip on reality? That is exactly the dark and terrifying path I see Jocelyn walking down right now. It is a specific kind of psychological break, a descent into a madness born not of illness, but of unbearable, targeted torment. The writers are painting a picture of a mind collapsing under the weight of unspeakable trauma, and the parallels to Anna's past struggles are both brilliant and absolutely devastating. What makes this entire situation so much worse is the cruel twist of fate surrounding her so-called rescue. In any normal story, the moment the captive is freed, we all breathe a massive sigh of relief. We cry tears of joy because the nightmare is over. But that is not what is happening here. The fact that Jocelyn is going to be pulled from the clutches of Cassius only to fall directly into the suffocating, controlling grip of the WSB is a nightmare of a completely different color. It is not a rescue. It is simply a transfer of ownership. The WSB does not view Jocelyn as a traumatized young woman who needs gentle healing and love. They view her as a liability, an asset, a loose end that needs to be tightly managed. I am just sick to my stomach thinking about how Ross Cullum and Jen Sidwell are orchestrating this entire twisted scenario. These men are not saviors. They are cold, calculating operatives who thrive on control and manipulation. The way the WSB is stepping in to take charge of Jocelyn's life under the guise of providing her with help is nothing short of sinister. They are using her fragile, shattered mental state as the perfect excuse to dictate her every move. Instead of being surrounded by the warmth of her family, by her mother Carly, who would move heaven and earth to protect her, Jocelyn is being swallowed whole by a massive, faceless government agency that has a long, dark history of breaking people down for their own purposes. And then comes the absolute bombshell that left me completely speechless. The revelation that the WSB's grand plan for Jocelyn involves shipping her all the way off to a facility in France for treatment. Oh, my heart just sank into my shoes when I realized what this meant. This is exactly the same protocol, the exact same playbook they used when Anna Devane was battling her own psychological demons. Sending her to France is not about getting her the best medical care. It is about isolation. It is about removing her entirely from her support system, stripping away anyone who might fight for her or question the WSB's methods. It is an incredibly cruel and calculated move to ensure that Jocelyn remains entirely under their thumb while she is at her most vulnerable. Can you even begin to imagine the sheer agony this is going to cause her family? Think about Carly. Carly Spencer is a mother lion who would gladly take a bullet for her children without a second thought. To have her daughter finally survive a horrific hostage situation only to be deemed psychologically unstable and whisked away across the ocean to a foreign facility where Carly cannot protect her, it is a mother's absolute worst nightmare come to life. The emotional devastation of Jocelyn leaving Port Charles under these dark, mysterious circumstances is going to ripple through the entire town. It leaves such a massive, gaping hole in the canvas, and the tragedy of her departure is going to haunt every single person who loves her. But wait, because the injustice of this storyline goes even deeper, and it makes my blood boil in a way I can barely describe. Because Jocelyn is suffering this severe mental breakdown, because her mind is so fractured and her reality so distorted, her credibility as a witness is completely destroyed. And do you know what that means? It means that Cassius, the monster masquerading as Nathan West, the very man who put her through this living hell, is going to walk free. The sheer, unadulterated unfairness of it all is staggering. He is going to use her psychological collapse as his get-out-of-jail-free card. He will paint himself as the victim of a hysterical, delusional young woman, and the legal system will let him slip right through their fingers. I find myself pacing the floor just thinking about Cassius breathing free air while Jocelyn is locked away in some sterile facility in France. It is a masterclass in emotional manipulation by the writers, and I have to admit, it is working on me completely. I am so deeply invested, so incredibly angry on Jocelyn's behalf, to see a vibrant young life derailed so completely, and to watch the architect of her suffering simply brush off the dirt and walk away without consequence is a bitter, bitter pill to swallow. It places this heavy, suffocating cloud of injustice over the entire storyline, leaving us viewers desperate for a reckoning that feels like it may never come. And with Jocelyn discredited and exiled, the path is wide open for the real villains to expand their reign of terror. Ross Cullum and Jen Sidwell are playing a massive, high-stakes game of chess, and Jocelyn was just a pawn they needed to sweep off the board. Their actions are becoming increasingly bold, increasingly dangerous, and their influence over Port Charles is spreading like a dark stain. By controlling Jocelyn and ensuring Cassius goes free, the WSB is proving that they are the ultimate puppet masters in this town. They operate above the law, above morality, and watching their power grow unchecked is genuinely terrifying. The scope of this storyline is just massive. It is not just a simple kidnapping plot anymore. It has evolved into a sprawling psychological thriller that touches so many corners of our beloved show. The way the writers are weaving together Jocelyn's personal trauma with the overarching sinister agenda of the WSB is brilliant, even if it is incredibly painful to watch. It changes the entire landscape of Port Charles. With Jocelyn gone, who will stand up to these shadowy figures? Who will uncover the truth about what is really happening in that facility in France? The questions are endless, and the anticipation is keeping me glued to the screen every single day. On a deeply personal level, as someone who feels like I have watched Jocelyn grow up, this entire arc feels like a profound loss. We have seen her navigate high school drama, first loves, and family feuds, always with that signature Spencer resilience. To see her broken, to see her mind turn against her, feels incredibly intimate and deeply tragic. Mental health struggles, especially those induced by severe trauma, are such a delicate and important topic to portray. While I am heartbroken for the character, I am also captivated by the raw, emotional depth of the storytelling. It is the kind of drama that stays with you long after the episode ends, the kind that makes you want to reach through the screen and offer a comforting hug. When we really stop and think about the history of the WSB in Port Charles, this current storyline with Jocelyn feels like history repeating itself in the most chilling way possible. We have seen this agency operate in the shadows for decades, manipulating lives and destroying families, all in the name of global security. But there is something uniquely cruel about watching them target someone as young and full of promise as Jocelyn. It makes me wonder how legacy characters like Anna Devane or even Robert Scorpio will react when they realize the depths of Cullum and Sidwell's depravity. Will they see the horrifying parallels to their own pasts? Will they recognize that the agency they once dedicated their lives to has become a monstrous machine that chews up innocent young women and spits them out into sterile French asylums? The potential for explosive confrontations between the old guard and these new, ruthless WSB operatives is absolutely thrilling, even as it breaks my heart. And let us not forget the absolute hurricane of grief and rage that is about to hit Carly and Sonny. If there is one thing we know for absolute certain, it is that you do not mess with the children of Port Charles' most formidable parents and expect to walk away unscathed. The moment Carly realizes that her daughter has been whisked away to France, deemed legally insane and stripped of her rights, we are going to see a level of maternal fury that will shake the very foundations of the town. Sonny, too, will be a man unhinged. The fact that his own operative, Brick, is already entangled in the hunt for Britt and Rocco just shows how thin Sonny's resources are being stretched. But Jocelyn is his family. To know that Cassius is walking the streets a free man while Jocelyn is locked in a mental ward across the world is going to ignite a mob war of epic proportions. I am practically trembling, anticipating the vengeance they will seek. The most sickening part of all of this, the part that truly keeps me awake at night, is the smug satisfaction I know we are going to see on Cassius's face. He did not just survive Jocelyn's physical attack, he completely conquered her mind. By driving her to the point of a psychological break, he has effectively silenced his only victim. It is a terrifying display of manipulation. He gets to parade around Port Charles, wearing the beloved face of Nathan West, playing the role of the misunderstood victim. The psychological warfare he waged in that Windermere room was so potent, so deeply damaging, that it accomplished what no lawyer ever could. It is a dark, tragic victory for the villain, and it sets a tone of despair that makes this current era of the show feel heavier and more intense than anything we have seen in years. As we look ahead to the coming weeks, I am filled with a mixture of dread and desperate hope. I dread what Jocelyn will have to endure in France. I dread the cold, clinical treatments and the isolation she will face at the hands of the WSB. But I also hold on to a tiny, stubborn sliver of hope, because underneath the trauma, underneath the brokenness, she is still Carly's daughter. She is still a fighter. I have to believe that somewhere deep inside her mind, that spark is still alive, just waiting for the right moment to ignite again. I want to believe that she will fight her way back to sanity, back to Port Charles, and back to the people who love her.